Hello, Braves fans, and welcome back to another edition of Indian Hills Sports Report. I'm Peter Carr.
And I'm Andrew Burgess.
And as you can tell, we've done quite a bit of changing here, Andrew. For example, this very desk that we were sitting at here today, we actually had the opportunity to work on it during the early September month, and I think it really turned out well. We did this with the cooperation of Andrew Wiebold at his house, along with Spence Kagi, who helped to design different things for it. Along with the desk, we also made a interview set that you'll see throughout the show this year.
That's right, Peter. And we have to mention Mrs. Wiebold as well for letting us use her house to actually build the desk in for a period of about 4 weeks, because that's a pretty long commitment. So we thank her as well.
You know, besides the new appearance here on Sports Report, we also have a totally new format for you viewers. We're going to try to produce a weekly show. Now, this requires a lot of work. Let me tell you what, I've had a lot of trouble trying to even get this show to put together. So, in order to do that, we've been asking help from players, coaches, and parents. It would be great if you have any ideas for stories or any stats or information that you think would benefit our show, if you could contact us by email at ihsportsreporter@hotmail.com, or you can contact us by phone at 513-272-4635.
That's right, Braves fans. It's tournament time. And as you all know, we have a very well-renowned tournament team here at Indian Hill, and that's the girls soccer team. And we've had quite an amazing year so far with girls, and they kicked off their first tournament game at home against Clark Montessori. Now, this game, it's sad to say, Peter, was about missed opportunities. Now, the girls, they were missing a couple key players, one of which was Meredith Snow, who's injured right now, so she wasn't available to play. But we had Maggie Rowe, who stepped it up and really filled in for Meredith quite well. She had a very good game. But what I'm talking about with missed opportunities is we had a number of shots on goal that just should have been goals. They just should have been. There's really no excuse for not getting the ball in the net. But overall, the girls, they're not playing with the same intensity that we saw last year. And I think once we get farther into the tournament time, this is going to really, it's going to come back. And they're going to step up their intensity, and they're really going to get it done. But in this game, they didn't. Brooke Rogers scored the first goal with a direct shot at the goalie. It bounced off her hands and then rolled into the goal on the left post if you're facing the goal. And that really started things off. And then Brooke Rogers had a second shot that didn't go in, but it bounced off the goalie's hand, and Grace Goldman was there to put it in from the 18 in the upper 90. It was a beautiful shot, beautiful. And I really enjoyed watching that, and all the fans went nuts. It was just a great shot. And Wiggers had an excellent game as well. She had quite a few saves, and she recorded yet another shutout as an Indian Hill Lady Brave.
Indian Hill's next game faced off against Seven Hills. In order for Seven Hills to get to this game, they had to defeat Taylor, who was ranked 8 overall. They ended up defeating Taylor in sudden death overtime, so they were really charged when they came in to play Indian Hill. In the first half, they held Indian Hill to only 1 goal. The goal was scored by Jill Hoffman, actually her second goal of the year, and it was a long shot. Apparently it was taken from around midfield, and it was just a line drive shot that the goalie wasn't expecting at all. Later in the game, the Braves were a little bit down because Danielle Levy got hurt, and Seven Hills looked to capitalize on this substitution, putting in younger players. However, the Braves persevered, and Brooke Rogers ended up getting a breakaway. It was a beautiful breakaway, and she had a great shot on the goal for her 21st goal of the year. Sarah Wiggers recorded her second shutout of this tournament already, and her 10th shutout of the year. This shutout is her 34th of her career. So Sarah Wiggers has really been playing great soccer these days, especially in this tournament, Andrew.
That's right, Peter. And she really has always played great soccer when it comes to tournament time. No matter what happens in the regular season, which is usually good things, she's usually always a solid player. But when tournament time comes around, Sarah Wiggers just steps it up just to a completely whole new level, and that's what we're seeing here. 2 games, 2 shutouts, and I'm looking for that to continue.
I really am. The success of the Braves is going to depend on how well their defense plays. Losing Meredith Snow for estimated 4 to 6 weeks has really hurt their chances in the playoffs, but they still seem to persevere. As you said, Maggie Rowe has really played well.
Yes.
Only a freshman, but definitely stepping up her level of play for her teammates. But you got to look for the Braves to step it up on defense. That's the only way they're going to survive is if Wiggers can keep having these great games. In fact, we have an exclusive IHTN interview with the queen herself here at Indian Hill, Sarah Wiggers.
Hi, I'm Pat Gaughan, and I'm here today with starting goalie of the Indian Hill Lady Braves soccer team, Sarah Wiggers. How are you, Sarah?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Now, the Lady Braves have yet again made it to the playoffs, and the first game was Clark Montessori at home. What were the plans? How did the game go?
The game went really well. We all stepped up. Everyone had a good game. Clark was a bit better than we thought they'd be, but we ended up posting 2-0. Although we did have some injuries, like Meredith Snow's been out, but she's going to be coming back for this next game. And also we had another injury, like basically a good half of our team's injured, but we were just basically playing through it every game. And so we really stepped up and we really just went out there to play.
And then after that game, you guys went on to play Seven Hills. How was that? What were the plans? How do you think it went?
I think it went really well. What happened was we thought we were going to actually play a different team other than Seven Hills, so it was kind of an upset that we played Seven Hills. But we came out hard versus Seven Hills. It was a cold night, rain, but everyone stepped up. We had Jill score a goal and Brooke score a goal, and it just pushed us on to a 2-0 victory. And I think everyone really backed everyone else up, and it was really a team effort.
Now, I noticed you said both those games were 2-0 victories, so that means between the posts there, you posted 2 shutouts. How'd that feel?
It was good. It was good, especially since during regular season I didn't get as many shutouts as I would have wished. But it's good going into the tournament, confident, and it's always positive.
Now, after you guys beat Seven Hills, you now move on to play Summit. What have you guys been doing to get ready for that game?
We've actually watched film on Summit because we played them preseason or during the season, and also we're practicing down at the turf with the football team because we're actually playing on turf, which is at Mason, which will be on turf. So we're just getting ready, getting the surface down, and just making sure we know how they play and what to expect.
Now, how different is that? You're talking about the turf to play from grass to turf. Is that a difficult switch?
It's kind of more difficult, especially since Summit actually plays on turf, that's their field. But it's going to be a lot better game, and it's going to just basically you have to take a little off if you're going to actually pass it because it's just going to fly past the player. So it's definitely a speed difference.
Well, good luck with Summit, and thank you for the interview.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. Now into guys soccer. They've had a dominant first tournament game this year, actually winning 5-0 against Roger Bacon. It was a great game. Yet again, you see the dominant duo of Burke and Crabule up front, who have around the same amount of goals this season, along with assists. They're both up. They're the 2 top leaders on the team in both goals and assists. Burke had 2 goals in the contest, and Crabule had 1, along with Green, who had a goal. And apparently Mike Korchmeyer, another defender, is able to step it up and had a goal. I was talking to Josh Mosquita the other day during economics class about the game, and he said it was probably one of the most beautiful shots he has ever seen this season. It was just a really long shot from far out beyond the 18, and he said he just had perfect placement. One touched it into the goal. So it was an incredible shot and just a little bit of icing on the cake, if you will, in this tournament.
That's really, the guys' team is all about scoring, Peter. And it's not just with Crabule or Burke up front. I mean, we've seen all the defenders having the ability to score at one point or another. Henry Schmidt scored. He's on the defense. We've got Mikey Korchmeyer scoring in this tournament game. Everyone is a threat on this team. There's no one who doesn't have the ability to score, and that's really what makes the Braves team who they are. That's how they survive throughout the season is by everyone being a threat.
Actually, in this game, also should be noticed is that John Zellick had another shutout. Between Ryan Buckles and John Zellick, I think they have recorded 7 shutouts so far this season. So that's really helped. And you look at these goalies play, both Wiggers and Zellick in the tournament, that's really going to help their teams in these tournament games if they can continue to have shutouts. Makes it real easy for your offense. All they have to do is score 1 in the game, and you're going to get a win.
Then you got it, yeah, definitely. And Indian Hill goalies, for some reason, Peter, they just step it up in tournament time, and they just keep recording these shutouts. And I'm looking for that to continue as well through both guys soccer and girls soccer. Unfortunately, Braves fans, the volleyball season has come to an abrupt end. This is due to the overpowering McNick. But they did have some glory during the tournament time, Peter, and that was against Goshen. They had a very powerful win. They won in 3 games, and I think Goshen scored a total of less than 25 points in those 3 games. So they really showed their power and how strong their team was. But they lost to McNick, unfortunately, in the second round tournament game. Now, Indian Hill has been so great in volleyball this year due to some key players. And the first one is obviously Jen Shaw. Now, Jen Shaw, she's accomplished first team CHL and second team All-City. And this is just great. We also have another player, believe it or not, Peter, a freshman. Lizzie Flynn has also achieved first team CHL and second team All-City as a freshman. This is just amazing. You normally don't see this. Most of the time it's seniors like Jen Shaw that make these teams. And then also we have another defensive player, extraordinary defense player, Kelsey Schaefer, who had 310 digs and 47 blocks on the season.
I mean, you look at another player who gets honorable mention that you didn't mention there was Jenna Miller. She had 62 kills, so that's pretty high, 133 digs, and a 96% serving accuracy. I mean, that's just an unbelievable stats. You look at her, she's definitely a great person to have serving if the game is on the line. You really want her there.
Definitely, Peter. And what I look at this team is most of them aren't seniors. So we're having a lot of these key players. Lizzie Flynn is a freshman. Kelsey Schaefer's a junior. Jenna Miller's a junior. So they're all coming back next year. So the key players that they have, the ones that really stepped it up and showed how well they can play, are all coming back next year. So we'll look forward to them next season.
Yeah, you definitely have to look forward to their success next season. I mean, as you said, they have a lot of young players coming back. I mean, you lose senior leadership, but I think Kelsey Schaefer is ready to step into that role, as you saw her as a dominant player this year. If she can get consistency with her game and work perhaps over the summer to improve her game, they should have a great team again next year.
That's right.
Cross country, only the strong will survive. In fact, Navinka Grozdik is the strongest, and she has survived up to this point, finishing second in the CHLs and then 5th in the districts. As she goes on to regionals, she has hope that she can make it eventually onto state if she places well enough in regionals. And Andrew, I know you got to sit down with Navinka. What's the key to her success?
Well, Navanka is really a confident runner, and that's really why she's so successful. She believes that she can run, and so therefore she can. I mean, she's just so confident that that's what makes her run fast. She wills her way to the finish line each and every race, and that's why she can say with confidence to me that she will make it to state, because she wants it that bad, and that's what's going to get her there.
Sounds like a great deal, Will. I mean, talking about one of her other teammates, Casey Hilmer, I mean, she definitely had the will this year, probably to produce and do as well, but she got sidetracked a little bit by an injury sustained to one of her legs. I've heard that it was a shin splint.
Yeah.
I mean, that definitely has got to be disappointing for her. I heard that she dropped out of the race within, the first mile, was it?
Yeah. See, Casey really wanted to run this race. She's really a tough girl, so she tried to persevere and play through the injury, but it was just too much for her leg was just so painful. So she dropped out at the mile mark, the first mile mark. But next year, once she's healthy, I think we'll have a great duo between her and Navanka, because they run just about the same time, almost every race. They're always in the top 10, so it's just a really joy to watch her.
So basically, all we can say is good luck to Navinka. Hopefully, she keeps that strong will with her as she heads on into the regionals, and then hopefully into the state cross-country finals.
CHL domination. That's what Braves fans think about when Indian Hill football is brought up. And that's exactly what we have here at Indian Hill. The Braves, with their win over Reading last week, has clinched the CHL title outright for the first time since 1987. And Peter, this is quite an amazing feat. I mean, last year we went 9-1, and we had a co-title for the CHL with Wyoming. And this year, I guess the guys are really psyched that they got the CHL title outright with their win over Reading.
I mean, yeah, the guys on the team are really pumped up about that. I mean, it's an accomplishment. It's something that you can never take away from this 2005 team. I mean, we have a perfect season so far, 9-0, and I mean, there's no telling where we're going to go.
That's right. And this is one of the fall sports that's not yet in tournament. And Reading's game really challenged the team. And I think it really was a preparing game for the tournament to come, because you guys are going to face better opponents in the tournament. And Reading really stepped up their game and really threw a wrench into the works and really challenged the team that the Braves have.
I mean, I think the great thing, I mean, it's great to come out of a game like that with a win, because like that was such a close game that it was really kind of tough as a player sitting there, and you know, you don't really know what's going to happen. But sometimes people will step up and make big plays and will will the team to win. And that's really what happened this week, is the team just had the will, and it shows the heart of the team that when they're down, I mean, the Braves were down 14-0 after the first quarter, and they were able to come back and be able to step it up in order to ensure the win and the victory and their 9-0 CHL dominance, as you said.
That's right. And Peter, the Braves are all about making big plays when it needs to happen. We had Jake Kendall, who had a key interception, which really was the turning point in the game. And another thing, after we had a bad snap, it went over Scherbenberg's head. I think we had the ball at the 3 or 4 yard line. And then Andrew Kiriakis steps it up by running the ball for over 10 yards. And that's really the first turning point of the game, was Andrew Kiriakis' run. The momentum really shifted there. And then Jake Kendall, after we score and Reading gets the ball back, he intercepts the ball, giving the Braves the best field position they had in the entire game, ending with another Braves score.
Yeah, Jake definitely had a great game, as you saw on Friday night. I think another player that had a great game is Case Cousineau.
That's right.
I mean, he just played unbelievably well. In fact, he was credited with the game ball just because of his play on the offensive side of the ball. He played unbelievable, found holes, was able to run all over the team when we were having a little bit of trouble passing the ball. So he had a great game.
Oh, definitely. He had close to 300 rushing yards and almost 400 all-purpose yards on the game. So he really stepped it up, and he really carried the Braves and got the momentum going for them.
Yeah, Andrew, that's correct. And let's hear a couple words from Case. Pat actually got to sit down with him earlier today.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with senior running back Case Cousineau of the Indian Hill Braves, who are currently 9-0, undefeated season going on. How you doing, Case?
Good. How are you?
Pretty good. So let's talk about what gave you guys that 9-0 Reading last week. Now, not to be bragging about you here, but you had an amazing game. It was at 370 some total yardage. How did that feel Friday night?
It felt great, especially because our team was struggling a little bit on the passing game with the weather conditions and everything. So I stepped it up and just played well that night.
Now you're talking about that passing game. Now, how much does that help when you go into a game and if the passing isn't working too well? Is that just great feeling to know that the running game will take care of it?
It's huge for the team, and coaches, big relief for them that they know that they can rely on me if passing game's struggling with bad weather conditions or good coverage, so.
Now, back to the running game. I think you're 136 yards away from breaking 1,000. How does that feel?
That was one of my goals in the beginning of the year, to break 1,000 yards rushing, because in the spread offense that we're in, it's kind of hard for a running back to rush for over 1,000 yards. So that was really one of my goals, is just really get it over 1,000. So
definitely. And also your touchdown record too. I hear you're gunning for that one as well.
Yeah, I have 19 touchdowns and the record's 21. So I have 2 more to tie it and then 1 more to break it. So hopefully this game I can break the record and be on the top.
Now looking forward to the next game, Purcell. What have you guys been doing all week to prepare?
They have a lot of their pass and run games well The record's only 1-8, but they play a lot of hard teams, so we have to really take them seriously to pull out a victory.
And looking for that next step, I know the football team doesn't like to do it, but what are we doing now to prepare for the playoffs?
Just stay healthy. We have a lot of guys banged up. We need to stay healthy and just be ready for the playoffs.
Thanks, Case, and good luck on those 2 records as you gun for them Friday as the Indian Hill Braves take on Purcell Marion. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Pat. And what an accomplishment that would be if Case Cousineau could beat Peter Snow's record of 21 touchdowns this season.
You know, another interesting record that's about to be broken is Scherpenberg's passing record from last year that he set. He's only 30 yards away from tying this. And since he averages about 270 yards a game in passing, I think he's got it covered.
I mean, yeah, as long as Scherpenberg throws for about 40 yards, I think that's all he has to get. He'll have 2,500 yards for the season. And then if Case is able to rush for 136 yards, he'll have 1,000 yards rushing this season, which is an incredible feat considering the first couple games he wasn't really playing that that fullback or tailback position in the offense. He was playing the tailback, which is out wide as more of a wide receiver. And now that Merritt's injury has happened, like Cousineau's seeing most of the time there.
That's right. So it's really 1,000 yards in 8 games as opposed to 10, which is really good. It's a very, very nice accomplishment. And Peter, the boys teams face a pretty tough opponent next week. That's Purcell Marion, and that's their last regulation game before they head off into the tournament.
I mean, the thing is, the biggest thing this week that we've been talking about in the locker room and stuff is preserving this 10-0 record, this perfect season that we can accomplish. It's only been done twice in Indian Hill history, in 1968 and 1970. And these were when Dean Kariakis was on the team. And this was under the era of the Joe Clark era, which was pretty much a dominant era here in Indian Hill football. One of the nice things is Dr. Kariakis actually has invited a couple of his friends to come back from the old teams that are going to come back and will be at this week's game, which is pretty neat. And it's just a great opportunity that you can be part of something bigger than you, and you can be a part of something that's history, and it'll be here for a long time, and you can't ever take that away from these players. But let's talk about Purcell a little bit. Purcell's 1-8 this season. Although the record expresses that they're not a good team, I think they really are. They're really underrated. In comparison, they play in the GCL. They play big teams like St. X and Moeller and all those big schools. So I think they're different. They're used to a different brand of football than Indian Hill has seen so far this year. They're real big up front. Indian Hill will have a little bit of trouble dealing with that. But if Indian Hill can get a quick start on them, I think that will lead to success in this game.
I think so too, Peter. We're really a different team than they're used to seeing. A lot of the big D1 schools like St. X and Moeller and the ones in the GCL, they're not really passing oriented. They're not based off their passing game. That's really what Indian Hill's about. So it'll be interesting to see how they react to a game that they really aren't used to seeing.
Yeah, very true. I mean, basically the Braves have to go out and outperform them this week and hopefully ensure that 10-0 perfect season. I mean, that would be something to behold. And that would just really be icing on the cake for this 2005 team.
That's right.
And this is our picture of the week. As you can see here, it is a great photo of the Indian Hill football game. For any of the pictures seen on today's show, or if you're interested in any sports photos from Indian Hill, they're taken by our very own Barbara McFarland from McFarland Photography. If you would like to order any of these pictures, you can contact her at phone number 513-271-7775. Next week's show will include highlights from the girls' soccer game, the boys' soccer versus Finneytown, and the senior night football game versus Purcell. Also, will include October's Athletes of the Month. I'm Peter Carr.
And I'm Andrew Burgess.
See you next time.